Hey YouTubers, welcome back. Okay, so I know that I've been MIA and I'm going to be putting up the rest of the Venus readings, but I needed to put this video up first. So the reason I've been MIA is because I had that incident that happened and I put a video up about it a few weeks ago. So I had to go to court today, right? And I have been literally beside myself with the whole entire thing because for the past few days, I have made numerous phone calls to local agencies, to, people who should perceivably, and this is why I always say perception, because if you are someone who works within the legal system and someone calls you and you can't give legal advice, but I'm not asking for legal advice. I'm asking to obtain a report in relation to an incident that happened that directly involved myself in order to, you know, find the names of the people who did something outside of, what protocol is in the legal system. So I met with oh, I don't know what that is. I don't know where to tell you to go. You could try this office. So, one office tells you to go this way, the other office tells you to go that way. Left with no answers except for the only person who in the system, right? I'm talking to people who hold degrees in law and this is what their job is. So my, you know, lack of understanding is that how are you put in this position if you don't know what you're doing? Or if you don't know why don't you know the law? Why don't you know the information? Why wouldn't you know where to obtain this type of information? And I'm supposed to be trusting you? Let's be real, okay? Seriously, let's be real. It's like calling the doctor's office and asking the nurse, where you could obtain a past, visit in the records of what the doctor wrote in your file, and them saying they don't know how to get it or they don't know how to obtain it. This is what this was like. It was utterly freaking painful. I mean, Google was more freaking informative, okay? So finally, I'm like this. I'm figured out myself. I end up calling a recording place, that keeps records. And lo and behold, someone who is just a law clerk, just a clerk, answers the phone, tell you whatever. They don't, they don't hold whatever. It doesn't. This is what my point is by saying this to you is that we go to college for 4 to 5 years. We pay $250,000 to attend the best colleges. Yet, when a question is asked to this person, they don't know the answer. But just the law clerk gave me more information in 5 minutes than anyone has in the past 2 to 3 days. So this is the only person, that I could get information from. The rest of them basically are telling me that there's nothing you can do about this situation. I even talked to a pompous lawyer who, you've been in this system for a very long time. I'm calling you because this is what your background is. But in the way that he was speaking to me, I was like, you don't know who's on the other end of this phone. You may think you're just talking to some young, stupid girl, but I know more than you think I do because I've read the Code of Law book in my state from front to back 7 times over, okay? So, and that's not a joke. So, this man says about 3 things that were informative to me. The rest of it was all BS, and I knew it was. And I was like, you just want me to pay you in order to do what it is that I know that I can do on my own. And people might say, Well, that's pretty ballsy of you not to have representation. I've already had representation on one end of the court and on the other end where I paid a lot of money out of pocket. No resolution. So I did. And I'm waiting. And finally, this lady comes out that I've been working with. And she just works for the court services there. She's not a lawyer or anything. And she, says a few things to me, and I get upset. What she was saying to me wasn't bad. I get upset, and I said, I don't understand this legal system whatsoever. I said, I'm dealing with a very malicious person who internally, I'm feeling imprisoned. I said, and this person is just allowed to do whatever they want. I said, you don't understand how many phone calls I made yesterday, and people are basically telling me there's nothing I can do about it. So then she was like, she was upset about the situation that I had told her about prior, and she was like, you're going about this the right way. She's like, I don't understand why people are saying that to you. I said, you understand I can trust no one. I cannot trust anybody in the system, and I don't. I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I said, there's no one here I trust right now. I said, do you know what it's like to live in paranoia? That somebody knows somebody and somebody got a payoff in order to torture you? I said, do you understand that? I said, because that's the life that I've been living. I said, so I don't trust anybody to represent me. I said, I trust myself, and that's it. So she did what she could. She went in and spoke to whoever, and she got a DA to stand with me. She brought the DA out, and I told him what I wanted. And I said, nothing about this is right. This whole entire situation is crap. I said, I can't get anybody to tell me anything. I cannot get records of an incident that happened. I said, it's as if it's being said as if it didn't happen. I said, yeah, we have record proof that it happened, plus a witness. I said, so the incident really did happen. I said, but I'm being told there's nothing you can do about it. So he was like, well, I'll stand up there with you and I'll, do whatever, do his job. I'm not worried about your job. I'm worried about my position here, right? So I'm sitting in there waiting, and I'm upset. I'm upset because not only am I just like seeing all these people who, some of them in there, yeah, they need to be detained because they did some terrible things, like strangling someone to death. I witnessed that today. I was like, oh Lord, but some of the people in there for just like dumb shit. I'm just like, you got anything better to do than like, seriously, like, come on, like some of the stuff, you know what I'm talking, just like stuff that is just dumb, okay? Wasting my time. That's what I felt like for these people. Like, you're wasting my time with this shit. Like, really, like these people have never, had too much to drink or smoked a J or something. Like, let's be real. I'm like, whatever. Now, the ones that are in there for strangling people to death, I get that. Okay, we have to have a line somewhere, right? So I prayed. I've been praying. And I asked so many times, please, there has to be someone. Bring me someone. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, I didn't know who. I just intuitively knew there was somebody that was going to come along the path that would help me. So I'm sitting there, and I'm upset, okay? And when I get mad, I cry. Like, when I get really mad, like, I start crying. It's just like one of those, like, when people get like really scared, they start laughing, and people think they're like disrespectful or they're weird. And it's like, no, I get that, because like situations where people don't cry, I'm the crier. Where more emotional situations, I'm like cold, So when I'm crying, like, there's something really wrong, like real wrong, especially if I'm silent. So this man, this sheriff, and he was younger, he's probably like late 30s, like early 40s. He must have been a water sign. That's what I picked up on. But he, I was sitting like in the second row back, and I was sitting, next to this one guy, and he must have seen me sitting there upset like this. And he walked over to me and he leans in the aisle and he goes, "Man, are you okay?" And I just like looked at him, I was like, and he was like, "Do you want to come talk to me?" Staring at him because I don't remember. I told you I don't trust no one, especially after what just happened with 4 men dressed in suits, not doing their job, out torturing someone for a friend, right? So I'm like, okay. He's like, come with me. So we go out, and I can barely talk. Okay, I'm like so upset, and I said that I like apologized like 3 or 4 times to him, and he's like, it's okay. He's like, just breathe. And I'm like, okay. He's like, what's going on? So I tell him what happened, and he was disgusted. He said, when did this happen? What is the date? And I told him the date, and he said, there should be an incident report. And I said, I called a bunch of different places, and they said that they couldn't give me the information. They didn't know where to get the information. I said, and the only information I got was from the law clerk. I said he was the only one that would help me. And he gave me part of a name that he could read that was written, and he told me what was written on it. I said, but his is the only name. I said, it doesn't say anything about what happened. It just says, his name and whatever. Like, it doesn't explain what happened that day, because what happened that day wasn't known. Because what happened that day wasn't supposed to happen. Because there was no one that sent them in order to do what it is that they did. They were doing a favor. So he says to me, I don't wear my badge for those reasons. He's like, there's nobody in this system that could ever give me enough money in order to do anything to anyone. He stated that he was going to get the warrant name that's on it, badge number. He said he's then going to look for the incident report. If he doesn't find the incident report, then the person whose name is on the actual, return slip, he's going to be questioned, and then we'll take it from there. I said, okay. So he was like an angel, and he was so nice, and he was like compassionate. I was like, this man must be a water sign, because he came over to me because he saw how upset I was. And that's not something that normally happens. But remember, I told you that I prayed for someone to come onto my path. And they came onto my path without any idea that they were headed. It came out of the clear blue. Literally. Out of the clear blue sky, this man saw me, walked over to me, and listened to me. Understood what I was saying. And knew everything and all of it was wrong in the way that it went down, right? So he tells me to go, he's like, you can go to the bathroom, just come back in when you're ready. I said, okay. So I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, calm down. But like I told you, when I'm upset, it's like so hard to like control, where I know in my mind I don't want to like be upset anymore, but it's like, I'm like trying to hold it together, So I'm like breathing and like just like calming myself, like self-soothing myself basically. And people are probably like perceiving me like, what is wrong with her, like whatever. But I'm like thinking to myself, what happened to me needs to be exploited so it doesn't happen to any of you people in here ever, or anyone else ever again. Like I understand I went through this in order to save a bunch of other people from it not happening, right? So, because another thing that this guy said to me was, you don't need to worry about trusting people up here. These are good people. I will contest for them. I'll weed out the bad ones. He was like, and a lot of these people here are new, so they don't know anybody. He's like, but don't worry, I'm in here. He was like, this, the judge that was on the stand, he's a really good guy. And I've heard that before about him. But at the end of the day, I don't know what's going to happen, because I don't know who knows who. I get my gut feelings, and I know who's who, but when you're in a situation like this, you don't know who to trust anymore. Honestly, you just don't. Because it's like people are just money hungry. So, and I don't care about the money. I care about my life, you know? So I go up. Justice served. The police officer must, or the sheriff must have went up specifically straight to the judge and told him something, because then the judge was staring at me when I first came back in. But it wasn't a bad stare. It was more or less, you know, the sheriff was leaning up there, must have told him something about what I told him, because the next thing you know, the sheriff is sending his assistant, who brought back a paper, and I couldn't clearly see from that angle like what the paper said, but it was a list of, you could see, it was like a list, like a graph, but there were like names and dates. So when he asked me the date, he said he was going to find this incident report. Well, the next thing you know, he's on his little speaker thing on like his ear, like his mic. And I'm like, he's already trying to figure it out. Because I could tell you he was pissed. When I told him what happened to me, he was pissed. Because he knew that there was something effed up about it. Not only did he know that there was something effed up about it, the judge reprimanded them, the people, you know, that he wanted to know why this happened. He wanted to know why this was what was done to me. And he fined the county. He fined the county. He gave the county a fine. And I literally was sitting there and I was like, or standing there and I was just like, I looked at him and I said, thank you. And he's like, okay. He's like, we're going to make sure that, you know, whenever we have anything scheduled, we're not going to, you know, miss it again. And I was like, no, like, first of all, I didn't know that I did. You know, this was a malicious act for somebody to try to get leverage and make me out to be something I'm not. And justice was served today. It finally shed light. And I was so grateful. And I felt so good for the fact that you can't hurt people. You can really, really try, but you can't fall victim to the malicious people, right? You got to keep your head up. And even in the most terrifying situations where you're sitting in, and you know, I'm just like, after all the phone calls I freaking made, and 90% of the people who are perceivably more educated than I don't know the answers to where I can obtain these documents, yet I know they're somewhere. And here, lo and behold, the sheriff told me where I could go, which is above them. Do you know that I called that office yesterday, and they told me that they don't deal with those types of situations, but the sheriff told me who rules over him if he needed reprimanded, and that was the office I spoke to. Explain that one to me. Either the person who answered the phone is very uneducated, or you know someone. So, I don't trust anybody. But I was brought the people that needed to fall onto my path today in order to help me, and they really did. Because by helping me, they were helping others for it to not happen anymore. You know, putting a stop to it. Weeding out the bad ones is what it is. Because I found people in the system today that actually wear their badge for the right reason and actually care about people and don't want to see people hurt. He saw the fear. And being an officer of his stature and how long he's been doing it, you know, because he's been a sheriff for over 10 years, 10, 15 years, I believe he said. He can see when something happened to someone. You know what I mean? And he can see when somebody's being, trying to manipulate, right? I wasn't trying to manipulate anything. There wasn't anything for me to manipulate. I was literally looking how I was feeling, right? And he saw that, and that's the type of people that we need. The intuitives who can see and read people, not the egotistical mind who just wants to rule over people and take, you know, their insecurities and put a badge on it, and all of a sudden they can be powerful and and terrorize people for their friends for money and whatever else. No, that's not what this is about. So I just wanted to let you guys know that because I was so happy. I finally, got home and was able to like get back to work and finally justice served in the right way. And now through that, a new door opening in order to make sure that the ones who deserve the same treatment in which they treated me happens so that they can't do that to anyone else ever again. And I won't stop until that happens. So don't ever give up. Don't ever. Keep faith. Trust. So I will be back with the Venus monthlies for the rest of the elements. And I don't know what the freaking day it is. It's Wednesday. Like, I don't even know what day it is. I got to do the weekend energy reading soon. I'm like thinking to myself, so sorry. Okay, so let me get to it, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your love and light, too. You guys really helped me, okay? Love you, bye.